Have you ever walked into a room filled with people you know, but then realizing that you no longer fit in the room? You no longer belong. Nothing dramatic has happened. Nobody has said anything directly to you, but there's a feeling that you just can't shake. And sometimes the hardest part isn't being excluded. It's realizing how long you've been abandoning yourself to belong to places that didn't even matter. I've been thinking about this recently, outgrowing certain friendships, environments, versions of yourself, and suddenly standing alone feels more authentic than belonging to any group. So today I want to talk about being the black sheep. The subtle things we don't always know how to name. Outgrowing people, isolation, what it actually takes to remain grounded in who you are. Welcome back to AKUALUX. So when did I notice that certain places no longer felt like home? It was when there was a period of isolation. There was a period of introspection. Me going into my shell, trying to process and understand exactly what had happened in my life. For a very long time, it felt like I was operating in autopilot, unable to see the full picture and what it actually meant. Withdrawing my energy from the places that I would frequently visit really helped me to look within myself, ask myself some important questions, and come up with answers that could not be denied. It wasn't easy. It was difficult, but that was needed. I began to ask myself why I had never felt like I fit anywhere that I went to. It started at primary school. At the age of 7, I was excluded for no clear reason. I was ignored by a group of friends, by people that I felt like loved and cared about me. I was outcasted. And for a very long time, this cycle continued. In my growing years, I noticed that I didn't fit in a group, and whenever I did build friendships and connections with people that seemed genuine, there was always this underlying resentment. It was them trying to embarrass me in front of other people, jokes made at my expense, being made to feel like the odd one out, being excluded. So after my period of isolation, the biggest question then became, was it me that had changed, or was it everyone else? And it became very apparent when I walked into a room with people that I knew, with people that I was familiar with. And that experience quickly became an eye-opener for me. I was the one that had changed. I carried a different energy because I had faced what I had been avoiding for a very long time. And that is who I am. And that is my depth. That is my spirit, my intensity. I was no longer willing to water myself down, to shrink myself, to make people feel comfortable. I noticed people avoiding eye contact. I noticed the sneaky looks. I felt the tension in the room, all while observing these people behaving and speaking in the same manner. So it was clear that I was the one that had changed. Yes, there was that familiarity of being back in the same place, amongst people that knew the old version of me. But I felt more resistance being in that environment than belonging to myself and remaining in my authentic energy. One of the hardest truths that I had to face is that having a big heart and loving people genuinely does not guarantee good treatment. There were times where I would open myself up wholeheartedly, not expecting anything back, but genuine respect, the same that I would give anyone else. But even that proved too much. So then I began to understand that me accepting this treatment is me enabling behavior that is harmful, not only to myself, but others that may encounter these people along the way. It was either I was in support of these people and the way that they would express themselves, the way that they would overlook genuine good deeds, genuine people, such as myself, or I remove myself. I excuse myself from that way of life because I did not intend to become like that. Secret animosity is something that I have felt, I have been picking up on for a very long time. For the longest time, I didn't understand what it meant. I didn't know the name for it. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, although I felt that current. It would show itself as, dirty looks. It would show itself as people withholding compliments from you. People making comments that are very harmful, comments that are uncalled for. I didn't understand why I was facing this. As I'm not perfect, nobody is. But when you know that you genuinely try your best, you are constantly assessing yourself, assessing your behavior, ready to take accountability for your wrong, But then there comes a time where you realize that, are you really wrong? Is it really my fault? Or am I taking the blame for someone else's shortfalls, for someone else's inability to be genuine, inability to understand and comprehend whether they like somebody or not, and taking action on that? Building connections is not something that is forceful. Everyone has free will. Why be around somebody that you despise? Why punish that person for being who they are? So after all of this coming to light, I had to ask myself very important questions. When interacting with others, I would question myself. Am I being paranoid, or is this a reoccurring pattern that I am seeing signs of? And the answer to that question is, I would give myself time. I would give people the benefit of the doubt. Although my intuition would always give me a little inkling, there would always be a second chance. And within that second chance, if I am proven right, that would be the time that I would have to cut ties. I would not wait for things to keep repeating itself in order for me to learn. I have become extremely discerning when it comes to people and the things that they swear that they can hide. People can be incompatible, and that is a natural way of life. Not everyone is going to gel together. Not everyone is going to be the best of friends. And that is a concept that has been freeing for me. With that said, that now has made me understand that if somebody is not compatible with me, then that person would not have any desire to come near me. That's the difference. If me and somebody clearly have nothing in common, then we agree to disagree, and that's fine, with love. But then there are those people that pose as someone who agrees with you, although deep down they know they don't. It's important to understand that outgrowing people does not mean that you are above somebody else. It only means that you are going in different directions. It doesn't have to be up or down. It's not as black and white. There's always a grey area. You might be going right or left or another direction. The person might be going the opposite direction to you, and that is fine. Okay? This is not about seeing yourself as superior, but it's about understanding where you are and being true to your journey and not letting anyone trap you in a space that they or anyone else feels that you should be in. There is a loneliness to choosing yourself. Because initially, choosing yourself does feel liberating. It feels freeing. But as time goes by, you start to miss human interaction. You start to miss, or maybe you miss the things that you used to do. You want to take part in some of the hobbies, some of the activities that you once did. And you may have done that with people, with friends in the past. So it brings you back to this space of yearning for what you once had. Although it wasn't pure, it didn't feel completely safe, reliable, but it was still something to lean on. So the question becomes, would I rather experience temporary loneliness or permanent betrayal of myself for belonging? It's important not to let rejection harden you, because we can protect ourselves while also embodying an open heart, being somebody who is loving and caring, being somebody who is willing to share their light with the world and the people around them. Boundaries and softness. Boundaries and softness can coexist. And eventually, building genuine friendships will be a focus. You will have to ask yourself, who are you when you are not auditioning for acceptance? You would have to realize that there are good people in this world, but it required you to experience the contrast in order to appreciate and to recognize what you actually want and what you are no longer willing to tolerate and be a part of. I still believe in connection. I still believe in friendship, in community. I just no longer believe that belonging should require self-abandonment. Maybe being the black sheep was never about being incapable of belonging. Maybe some of us simply had to stop belonging everywhere else long enough to realize that we ultimately belong to ourselves. Return to self, AKUALUX.